have to jump this story so nobody jumps to any more, conspiracies or any other weird thing. So my family was all part of government since I was a kid. There was all kinds of things going on with sexual misconduct. And our government is Christian. Anybody that's denying that, it has to be Christian. So, one of the things that was going on, I remember when I was a kid, is my family having some weird thing with sexual harassment within our county and, some just thing going on. Anyway, they eventually do a story on it, and it was like, there was a judge, I guess. I'm assuming they were talking about that guy, but I'm not clear right now because I don't talk to them. But anyway, um, Christians. So Christians are the ones that supported Jeffrey, and I'm going to explain how. This story came up last night that I saw, and I was like, oh yeah, because Roseanne Barr is going on about Satan again. So now we're going to hit the 1980 satanic panic when it was always Christians and they were touching kids and legalized it and promoted human trafficking kids. Anyway, so this happened because Hugh Hefner was being looked at by FBI, but it isn't because they looked at him because he's a human trafficker. No. So government, multiple people inside government and the church. So it's ran by the church basically because it's all the church freaks that get into government, which right now we got like 88% up in, was it Congress? Okay. It's Christian. If you have 88% of Christians in a government entity, it's Christian. The laws are Christian. And for some reason, it's really interesting. So we all live in a different universe than actually government. It was a weird thing to deal with anyway. They have a very old world, the extreme views, like the stuff that you're reading online about history, they actually live it and they still live it. And one of the things that was interesting is that I pulled up the story from these people that were teaching in college. I guess they were doing this in college or wrote a book, something about the American Plan, which was a Christian law that I guess it was a thing about them going after sex workers, right? And they just randomly nab people up in Sacramento and force these women to do these horrible, what was it, checking them for STDs, right? Against their will, basically. So we have kidnapping, rape, and the lady was not a sex worker at all. They called them prostitutes. Okay, we don't like that term because it's very derogatory from Christians. But anyway, so then what happened? Fast forward. Okay, so that whole thing happened. And I started talking about it on Twitter, and somehow all these stories kept going missing. Like they were trying to delete that story. I don't know why. It's a fact. And it was being taught in a college or something. Like one of the guys that wrote the book and this lady, right? So I looked at it and I was like, even regardless if somebody was a sex worker, just say consensually, nobody should be hating on that person and they didn't commit a crime, right? So we shouldn't be targeting a group of people. And if we do that, as we were doing that, not me, but America here, doing that, then what it does is put a green light for government to target all women, which they saw right there. They targeted all women, right? So we're trying to like educate. So I jumped on the story because I was like, I didn't even know that happened in my birth town, my birthplace. And it was interesting because no one ever taught us it. It's our history. So I was like, okay, so let me try to get these women to stop trying to target sex workers. There was these fake feminists. Okay, fake feminist is one that goes, I'm a Jesus freak. I go to a man and then I'm calling myself a feminist and I only listen to men. I mean, does that make any sense to you guys? It shouldn't. So what they did is pimp us out here. So then during this span, which was like, I think this happened did it start in like 2014? It was somewhere around there, okay? When I was talking to government. Anyway, somewhere in this span of time, they then fling out Sesta Foster or some crap, right? So then these people, a bunch of Christians and a few Jews, decided that they were going to vote for that thing. And I was trying to tell them that, it was going to do this, right? And they've been trying to, because they came at my jobs. Here in California, we have all kinds of different types of jobs, and they're all legal and everything. But our big government, doesn't want anything that isn't involving going to church and being a wholesome, pure little girl, right? That doesn't ever say anything bad. Okay, so this is what they want. That they are very different from the general public. And so they consider any woman a prostitute that does any job, even at an 18 and over bar. I mean, it's so stupid, but yes, this is our government. So what happened was, and trust, if you ask any girl that worked in any of these other jobs, they're like, I never viewed myself like that. Yeah, you probably shouldn't. That's just bullshit inside our government. So what happened was, in addition, they did these surveys in the 90s. It was in the 90s, I believe. It was in the 80s through 90s. And asking our government, some officers and things, like, how many women lie about rape? And it was almost 90% of our government said that women lie about rape. Okay. They don't actually believe you lie, but this was the survey in question. It's the worst survey ever that could be done, however they obtain this information. So they are human traffickers by default based on their religion. So in their religion, they believe that we're supposed to be pimped out to men. That's why they go, oh, have your dad give you away to a man. That's actually the fundamental basics of how far back that goes in history. And it's like an everyday thing that everybody just does and doesn't think much of it. And, unfortunately, our government, when I was talking to one of those pieces of crap, a comment like this, I'll tell you what it means. I've said it a million times over, but what it actually means. So they're like, I told them I want to file a report and a complaint on you guys because, they were actually laughing at me getting raped as a child. And then forward this report to the DA's office. And then those guys covered up them laughing at it and then saying Cosby's never going to get in trouble, right? Bill Cosby. It was a separate case, which I wasn't involved in. But I brought up the case because they were laughing so hard at my case. And they went into the media and were like, oh, we take every complaint seriously and we want all the victims to come forward. So I go like this. I mean, like, why are you, if you're saying that they're never going to go after him because you're saying that SOL is over, then why would you tell victims to come forward? And they just started kind of laughing. They're like, he's never going to get in trouble. Ha 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 ha. Oh my God, this is so awful. So then they blame the police department for the report. And they go, do you know what they wrote on here? And I'm like, no. He's like, only 2 paragraphs. I go, well, I didn't tell them to send that over. And I talked to them for like an hour or two on the phone. There should be way more than 2 paragraphs and blah, 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 blah. So I called back over to the police department and I started trying to make a complaint. And the guy starts getting agitated with me, saying that he's been a cop for 25 years getting pissed off because they're such a F up. This cop should have never got a job in my hometown. And, then he turns around and goes, let me talk to your daddy. Do you guys know what that means? Yeah, what it means is my slave owner. Because it's a very old ideology from human trafficking little girls. So the fathers were the ones that pimped us out, basically, to a man. And that he is my slave owner, or my husband, right? If they ask for your husband. So I was like, oh, government be going on like this? Yeah, but they don't do anything about it, right? Like, apparently this is the normal thing that they can make these type of, comments to us that, can I get my slave owner? And then it makes sense as to why they didn't care that they pimped me out to some rich dudes up in here, right? your dad, your daddy. So if your daddy pimps you out to some adult man, it's okay. It's human trafficking. It's human trafficking regardless of who it's from. So then our state legalized it, and that goes back to that other stuff. But also with the Mormons, they did a law in like 1850 or something, where they allowed some man to make up a religion and human traffic some Mormon girls. Okay, so we have that. So it's very fundamental um, in the religions and in America. That's just part of the whole thing. When they said all men are created equal, all they meant was white men. That's it. They were going at racism, but it does not actually hit the problem, because if you're promoting slavery on anyone and you're promoting male supremacy, then you will always be cockfighting. It's just part of the whole thing. So I try to like educate on that, because that's my area of expertise, is the MS thing. So what happened here was the Christians were heavily trying to target what they considered loose women, what they considered slutty women, women that should be thrown in prison because they're breaking God's laws. They are sinners, and we cannot have this crap in our country, right? Okay, so understand that's the basis. That's our government. That still is our government. So then in the 90s portion, you'll see, like on the Tyson case, which was a good case to kind of bring up, because we have a woman of color, but at the same time, what they were telling her, yeah, I pulled up a write up on that. It was pretty bad, actually, from a black man, I believe, and it was really bad. But he's a male supremacist, but he probably never got told that. Anyway, well, not him, but the thing was that they put her in public and they started blaming her, going, you should know that that's what he wants at 2 in the morning, versus like putting the blame on this guy actually sexually assaulting her. So yeah, and then they just dragged her to hell. Saw her as this horrible thing trying to take the black man down. That's male supremacy, because they don't care about her. They're like, we are going to throw the woman into the gutter for the male empowerment. And so this is the structural government that we live under, and it's a nightmare. So every time I call, I get this heavy dose of I would equate it to like some of the worst people you guys ran across online. That's pretty much who government wants. And then tenfold maybe. Because, it's like how many people run around going, can I talk to your daddy? I mean, not that often, but you will hear other forms of that in speech and what that actually means. Like, people might think it's funny on its own, but what it actually means in the speech. So I was listening to this speech like for years, talking with government, and it's so degrading. And they talk down to women chronically, and then if you had a job, say like at a strip club, right? And then you got raped from some guy at the strip club, what they did was throw it in the garbage, because they viewed that you could never be raped because you are a loose woman, and you obviously would consent to that, and there's no way that you could be raped at your job. Okay, so now I'm starting to fight this at a different job where they viewed us that way as well. But that's probably the most common example, because I think a lot of women out here had at one time maybe worked at one or know somebody that did or something. So that's like a pretty general job where they look at it and then go, you can't be harmed, and so therefore we're going to let you get human trafficked and raped at your job, based on the ideology of the Christian church. The government is running off that law, okay, those laws right now. And so so I kept reporting all this stuff, and they come out in the media and they're like, women ain't reporting stuff. I'm like, that's bullshit. I reported almost half the stuff that I'm talking about. And I mean, I can't speak for anybody else, but I know damn well I kept reporting stuff and they never did anything. we find out that people have been reporting. I go, oh yeah, so there's a couple problems here. Government doesn't have to report the tallies of anything. So now you can't actually track it. So there was so much in this. Anyways, if you worked at the Playboy Mansion, government saw you as a slut. And I hate saying it, but that is. And so every time I'm calling, they think of me as one too. So I was like, yeah. So I have to keep that in mind when I'm talking to government because they're piles of shit. So I have to deal with the worst. I was saying I have to deal with the worst monsters actually going through this stuff, and I have to get ready to be degraded in ways that I could never even dream of. And I voted for Obama thinking they're going to do something about this. Because, I mean, I didn't even know how bad it was actually until Obama. Because okay, so he's fighting racism, right? So I'm thinking, okay, good. Now he's going to get these, this thing, taken care of. Oh, no, 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 no. It became a man's crusade. That's nice, ladies. Anyway, it's about us as men. As men, it started this thing. They didn't care about the women. They didn't care about women of color. They didn't care about they're getting raped on the side of a road. Oh my God, these stories were popping up, and I was like, I can't take this. So they were letting cops, do full like body cavities on the side of the road, claiming that they had pot. I'm like, that's rape. How did they get away with doing that? So this happened in this van. Nobody cared about that. They're like, but anyways, ladies, they're shooting our men. I'm like, anyways, dudes, they're actually killing our women, and they don't even know where the bodies are. Okay, so there's like a whole bunch of things. So they were sexually abusing women. So I caught them because they came up to me and tried to hit on me. And then they turned out to be a gang, right? So I was like, yeah, I got to report this. So finally, I mean, there was a ton of conduct. It was related to these celebrity rich guys, but also another human trafficking ring and another human trafficking ring. So I was like, I gotta call FBI because this other group of people, these cops, are saying that they want money from me and it's gonna be forever. So they did something really horrible. I went through that story or whatever. I don't even talk about it right now. So I sent him a thing actually, and I put the celebrity stuff in there. I put my dad, but the whole chunk, there was like this huge chunk of things of government's conduct on me, right? I'm like, but I don't know what it's related to. And then I go, there's this, and there's this. And then I'm thinking I'm going to get a call. Someone's going to start grilling me under a light. I honestly thought they were going to do that. I thought they were going to call me and start questioning me. It didn't happen. So I was like, maybe I didn't send it to the right. You know what I mean? I was like questioning all these things about it. So I go, well, I'm going to follow up because I'm not going to let that go. And I called to follow up on it. And I said, okay, so I sent this thing in. She's like, what are you calling about? Like, she doesn't know anything. And I go, okay, so this, like, thing happened with these cops. And then she, like, stopped me right there and said, we don't deal with that. You need to go deal with that locally. And didn't let me explain these rich pedophile guys or any other. There's a lot of stuff in here. You guys, this isn't the only thing I'm going at. There's a lot of, I know a lot of stuff right now. So I'm like, oh, wait, I have to go at it? Yeah, they're like, you have to go at it locally. Here's what you do. So they laid out like what I had to do. I wouldn't know how to do that. So they're like, yeah, you need to have all these investigations done and then send that paperwork to the state if it does not come out right. Like if it came out, like if I had an investigation and then they found all this stuff right and then went after them locally, then I wouldn't need to go to the state necessarily. But we already knew they were going to botch the report. So I was already expecting it to needing to go to Kamala Harris. And who I didn't even know who she was at the time. This is just the information that I got through this whole system. So I was like, okay. So, knowing that I'm going to start getting targets probably because the male supremacists that are all of LAPD who are already targeting me since a kid might do something really bad. So the first thing that happened was my car got chopped. So we know that that is more than likely in the retaliation part of LAPD, where they're trying to tow my car. So it happened multiple times during this investigation. And I took photos finally of it. Long forgot about it. It was so funny because I seen it and I go, I don't know what is going on here. I've been here for almost 5 years and I've never had this, right? It was this thing about it. So then, I went to DOJ. I gave them the same information and some other stuff and something where somebody spiked me and doing some weird thing. And if you read it and you have a foul opinion of a girl already, it probably will come off, it would come off, if you think of a Christian just judging you and being a pile of shit, then they won't care. They're going to say it's just some crazy girl that does all this. It's like, I didn't do all this. This happened through some suspect. We know who the suspect is. But the suspect, the interesting thing about the suspect, we don't know who the guy is she's connected to. She was claiming her man goes to a different country and gets kids, like this whole other thing. And I was like, yeah, something happened here and people covered it up on me. And I ended up in the ER. And then she got pissed and was telling me not to call the cops. Like there was a whole thing to it. So she was my coworker, and I knew her, I don't know. I don't even remember how long I knew her, like months. That's about it. And she needed to be investigated. They didn't do any of it. The cops on that thing, on the first part of it, they started laughing. And I was like, I don't know what is funny about this. If I was a celebrity, they would be totally arrested right away. But that's what I'm saying. There's like tons of like little tidbits of really bad people in here. People trying to off me. Jumping me to get killed basically in the night. Like, it's just shit like that. And getting extorted. Well, the worst is getting extorted financially from government itself. So, yes, those are FBI things. That is not... This is organized crime. So... they throw me off locally, and then ultimately what ends up is the cops leave me in a fire. That is like at a synagogue, at a Jewish synagogue. Now, keep in mind, these Christians are anti-Semitic. Like, they are anti-Jew. And what you're seeing right now is them throwing this Jew guy under the bus, like, on his own. Obviously, he's a guilty monster. We're not saying he's not. It's just that he is not the mastermind in this whole thing. It's the Christian. So what happened is he cannot operate on his own. No matter how monstrous somebody is. Like, nobody can operate on their own. And if you're in a country that is 90-some-odd% Christian, which it was at the time he starts up, right? Then you're in the position of power. Then... therefore, you are the guilty party. You're the government. You're the one that got calls. Now, they got tons of calls. But that's not the only case. This is what's so interesting about this whole thing. The media tried to spin it around again, going, oh, this is not about Hef. It is about Hef as well. So, Hugh Hef was a target of FBI. If you're calling... You're Hef. You are a suspect to FBI. And you're going to call and tell them some other dude raped one of his girls. The viewpoint of FBI is his girls are prostitutes. I mean, I'm just saying it flat out how this government views us as females in the world, okay? So, and mostly at Playboy. So... they want to target him because his lack of morals, okay? They didn't know about the human trafficking part. They didn't even talk about human trafficking, nah. Not even in 2005. That was The term wasn't really used in public at the time because I made a report in 2001 on a human trafficking ring, and I had to explain what the human trafficking ring was, but you didn't have the term human trafficking. And it wasn't really in use until that Trump bullshit where they were making fun of it, kind of, and Demi Moore and all that. Okay, so when it came up right around there, it became more in use in the public. But definitely not in 05. So what I think happened is she called, one of the bunnies over here called. Oh, and oddly, this is around the time that they were trying to snake me up in here, I guess, or do photos. And yeah, I was all crazy. But anyway, they call. Now, I had already outed the rich camp over here, a different one, and I'm fighting a bazillion men. It was awful. It was like I was doing that, and then this new thing came up, and then I get raped again as an adult from another rich party. Well, the person that did it isn't rich. The people that they're connected to are from some old rock star thing, okay? That was connected to the Dio camp. So then they covered up. And I'm like, yeah. And so then I have two different cops in my story. So one's trying to throw me in a gutter, and the other one is partaking in my job activities, okay? So there was like two things going on right here. And I was like, this is weird. Shouldn't I be concerned that all these cops randomly want to hang out with me out of nowhere? He started doing criminal conduct. Now, by all technicalities, him and his parents should have been arrested. They had broken the laws, and they got a threat to get arrested, but then the cops covered up for them. So that was part of the investigations as well. And as to why they even did this to me is in question. So then, and he's not okay. So I'm not exactly sure who they're trying to say is okay. I thought they were talking about the other guy, but they didn't put what they put on my report that they sent. I'll get to it. I'm getting thrown off. This guy right here, Hugh Hef, is wanted by the FBI. They want to get him, at least according to what we looked at. But they never got him, right? Isn't it weird that they actually never got him? So I'm correct, but they're not going to take anything from people that they see as being a prostitute. And that's what they were calling Epstein's victims. So in 2011, as we were talking about Lawrence, everybody was calling the victim a prostitute. And that she was old enough and she knows better. And so that's also your government. That's the government's opinion. Generally, now keep in mind there's millions of people that work in government. So just because somebody actually went after the guy, they didn't really bust him, right? So it's kind of like this thing where, we'll do that, but anyway, no one really cares. But the general population and government, their view of these girls are, they wanted it, they're guilty, and they're little sluts. That is our government. Again, I'm aware of this, and as I'm talking with them, they speak to us in that manner, and it was never corrected. They didn't get rid of people that they should have. They minimize women as nothing because that's the slave owner would do that, right? The slave owner will pimp us out to men, and we are not humans, and so therefore them talking to me is an offense. And that is how they were speaking with me. And it was just so atrocious that I was just like, it is so corrupt up in here. It's corrupt up in here because it shouldn't be ran as a Christian church. That's number one. That's our government. It's supposed to be secular, which it is not. It is far from secular inside government. They keep lying out here. They keep lying. And I'm like, I cannot deal with this. I go, the whole time they're degrading me. They're telling me to do their job. They didn't file complaints when I tried to file these complaints on people. I wasn't mentioned in the records, which I actually should have been because somebody that was mentioned, I'm a victim to. So therefore, It should be in the files. They tried to hide this, and they got caught in their shit on my end because I know what I called in for. And at that point in time, they already had these reports. I didn't know what they had. I almost like blew this thing off because I was like, I'm tired of hearing this thing. It's just this guy, Jeffrey. He's dead. But I didn't know what, I didn't even, it was one of those things where it was like Harvey too. I'm so sick of hearing him. But he's like trying to fight back and forth on this thing. And we knew that this guy, everybody up in here is a rapist. We already knew because I actually went through all these guys and all the people that's involved with this story, most of them. And I already knew every single one of them are rapists. So therefore, yes, they all hang out and they all helped each other. So I knew that. Like I had all this stuff on the table because I'm the one that's going after everybody every day, right? But I didn't know Jeffrey's still doing crap. Like, you know what I mean? It was a weird thing in the story where that just went past me and I don't know. I somehow lost the ball on him personally. And then, Nygaard. Okay, so Nygaard's another story, same thing. Multiple complaints. Government doesn't do anything. Disregards it. And that's because government, yet again, not only are they racist, they think that the girls are hookers. They call them prostitutes, very derogatory terms. And that they're old enough and they know better and they're not fighting it. So therefore it's consensual and what do you want us to do? They're not saying they're victims, so you know what I mean? Like the kids and stuff. So I was like, yeah, that's exactly it. Because when I was talking to them, actually, before I called them, I'd seen them put a notice out that they were going to go target some women. So it had something to do with that they're going to go target prostitutes or something, sex workers. And I was like, what? I don't know if it was meant for public viewing. Anyway, I seen it and I posted about it. And I 1000% believe that was their thing for Backpage. It had zero to do with human trafficking, and nor would it. And they presented it as human trafficking. That whole crusade right there. The unfortunate thing is, I'm sure there was some victims in it because there's victims everywhere. If I went to go bust Taco Bell, guaranteed there's somebody there human trafficking. You're going to get this kind of crap because wherever men are, they human traffic us. But it's not a adult related thing necessarily. It's just like, oh, there's a place where they do it too. So as you see, inside government, as this was going on, FBI gets busted for massive sexual harassment and rape and stuff like that on the inside. And I catch wind of it, and I was like, oh, that's nice. Yeah, so I'm calling rapists to try to see if they'll stop other rapists. I think that'll go very well. No. See, and then it comes across other people as this mass corruption. It is mass corruption. But like corruption, you know, like somebody's getting paid off. No, like they're operating on their own as a dick. And they're Christian male supremacists. And so they're just like, F these women, and then they shred the reports. So I guess their defense right now is that we don't have to investigate everything that calls in here. Like, yeah, they have this thing. I'm like, that's interesting. The inside of FBI seems like Jeffrey Epstein's island from what I was reading through. And I was like, so I posted out in the public, who's overseeing this? Because I don't think anybody's overseeing inside of FBI, because holy crap, like, what is this? And so I noticed it. It felt like, oh, hey, ladies, can you raise your arm? If you need help, put 3 fingers up. Do you need any rescuing up in there? Because they have a silent code. Like, they don't, let the public know, like, that information. So if they're getting raped up on the inside, it's, like, top secret. So I was like, yeah, I don't know, man. I am scared because of what happened when I was talking with them. It just some of the conduct. I had talked to them, a handful of times in between 2014 and, I was thinking it was like 2001, 2, somewhere. I don't know. That was probably the last time. That's going to be the last time. Um, yeah, so basically they set me up. And then I ended up getting thrown in a gutter and almost killed. And then I couldn't ever obtain the report. So I received one report, but here's the interesting thing, you guys. In the background, somebody reported on Peter Nygaard, which I didn't know about it yet. Somebody reported on Peter Nygaard in 2015. I had the name of that person. I forgot it now. I did so much on his stuff, like so much. I could tell you a ton of stuff on his story, and there's probably still a ton more to go on it. So the same group of men are also tied to Jeffrey, but not Jeffrey first. So Jeffrey wants to meet all these people, but Nygaard is the one that accumulated this universe of scientists. But guess who else did it first, before Peter? The interesting thing, before Peter Nygaard, there's two Peters in the story now. So what was interesting about that is that Peter Thal and Bezos are the ones that first ran into these guys in 2006. Little did I know. Oh, it totally explains like my income getting totally the targets on the inside, you guys. And I go, oh, it's so funny, the timing of this. So what happened was, on the Peter case, all these cases are connected. Don't let media steer you off. Everybody's case in here is connected because this deals with the powerhouse that is Christian government. And also, I'm in the San Fernando Valley, and all these guys have ties here. All the dudes. Nygaard, Peter, and Jeffrey Epstein. So, as I'm going through, and then of course our perpetrators ended up moving out here because I was out here. You guys don't know that story? Yes, they didn't actually live here. They didn't live here before. They lived in Hollywood. And because I was living out here, they were like, hey, guess what? I just moved out to Studio City. And then they went to Chatsworth, which is, by the way, where Peter Nygaard ended up buying a building too over there. But he also had another one. And this other one is what's of interest to me. So, and why? So I launched these investigations, right? I had just talked to FBI when this happened too, because they had to interview me for a serial killer case, a whole different case. And so on the call with them there, it was okay until they asked me if I was leaving the country, and I was like, that's a weird question. You guys went through my Twitter? Like, you know what I mean? So I was questioning this bullshit about it. But anyway, and then I had to call them again on that case. I didn't have any major problems with them up until the lead up until this very last thing in the couple years ago. So they started slamming the phone down, and it was so inappropriate because they got information that I was raped and somebody watched, and they were trying to what is the word? You know when they try to ask you a million questions and try to make you slip up and try to set you up? Okay, so they were trying to do that. And then I said, no. They said, and they watch? He just threw it out there, and I go, yeah, and they watch. And then he acted like, he's like he didn't believe me or something. And then he like slammed the phone down. I go, oh my God, did somebody actually do this in our government? You just got information from a victim, and you acted like that? You shouldn't have a job, dude. You need to go to a therapist and be locked up in a white jacket is what you need to do. But yeah, this asshole. So anyway, I called back. I called back like 6 times in a row. And it was like they told him to just slam the phone down on me. And I believe I thought it was under Biden, but it could be under Trump. Regardless of who, it was between that cusp of Biden and Trump. These people were so atrocious, this group of people, at this moment in time. They may no longer have a job, because they come in and I don't know. But this was the most shittiest thing I've ever seen. So I call about some people that end up getting names in the files because I've seen one of Jeffrey's friends talking with some people in our stuff related and some other people going on. And I seen all of them together. And I go, oh my God. And then I got targeted, right? And then whoop. So when I called them, they were actually on the side of trying to go after me, is really what happened here. It was pretty obvious at some point, because I'm like, I was just talking to them, and all of a sudden, like, I got totally muted and thrown offline, and it says cybersecurity. When it was them telling me I need to call cybersecurity, why? And I told them I'm getting hacked. Like, I was getting hacked, and they were going through all my stuff. And I go, it's so hard to understand, like, what's happening here. Because I'm like, I'm pretty sure I didn't do it. Like, it was all crazy. And then, and Jeffrey's dead now, right? At this point in time, Jeffrey died. Okay, so I'm like, yeah, there's activity still going on. Ooh, there's activity. Bad activity. And I'm trying to figure it out. I'm like, well, Peter now is locked up, so it definitely ain't Peter. But anyway, so when I did the investigation, they send this document to my work address that I don't live at. Why did they do this? We don't know. To this point in time, we do not know what the hell that was about. Other than when government gave me a gutter map, which is the lowest, most evil abuse on a gender that you could ever do here, knowing that they were under investigation for abusing me to begin with, it was approved by Eric Garcetti. And it's very important with the Eric Garcetti stuff because he was covering up cops being involved in organized crime, including raping women in our county out here, okay? And connections with celebrities, okay? This connection with the celebrities is major because they were involved in drug trafficking, they were involved in human trafficking girls, they were involved in a slew of things, okay? So that's why I needed to go at the cop portion too, because we need to figure out like what these things are all about and extorting money, that type of stuff. So, they send this document over there, which is it's private. It's classified. It's supposed to go to the state. It's like state private information. But it could be wanted by other officers to give to perpetrators. And I don't know if anybody really figured that out. But yes, so they could send that there to show them, to let them know. And also try to get rid of the paper, because the paper needs to go to the state attorney. The state attorney won't do anything without me showing proof that I did that. So the paper's very important. The paper's very important. So if you don't understand that in the public, the paper was very important. So I called them in October of 2015. 2015. And the next thing you know, they start making up a story that I didn't give them an address. I go, you don't start investigations without doing an address, and you did, and Beck sent me a letter. I wouldn't, okay, if you're saying I didn't give you an address, why would you send it to a random address? Right? Hello? So these are the investigators. They're corrupt, okay? LAPD's corrupt. We know there's gang members in LAPD's internal affairs, actually. So FBI is just like, at that point, if the state attorney doesn't do the proper thing, we might get involved. That's what they said. It ended like that. So it seemed kind of kosher, because they were like, do this, do that, and we might get involved. We can't say, right? But we might, but okay, that's how they talk. So I'm like, okay, so we'll see what happens here. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but we're just going to go with it. And they don't understand that there's 20 some odd departments that I have to go at in LA County, and then another state, and in Orange County, and in Yolo County. That's maybe like 30 departments. It was like over that. And I think that they thought, I'm not going to give them any help here. I honestly, I'll tell you this. I don't think the lady that's telling me on the phone gave a shit. And had she let me tell the story, how ridiculous this sounds to me, going at 30 some odd departments is insane. And I couldn't do it because when I called, the lady was like, oh, we're going to stop you right there and not let you go back past 2005. And I'm like, no, we have to go earlier because we got rich guys here that I got dumped with. You know what I mean? Like this whole fucking thing on the earlier portion. And you're not going to get the story by just going, oh, let me question these two guys. You know, and then there was other cases in it, and then they obviously didn't look at them. Because when I reread it, it looked like they tried to only go at one case. I have hundreds, you guys. They stopped me almost like 100 times in the span of the 90s through the early 2000s. There was this nonstop thing going on, right? And then they try to extort me for like 10 grand. And I'm like, so I had to call the DOJ because I was like, somebody got to help me here because we're not getting anywhere with nothing, you know, with this stuff. But, so they're like, what's your problem? So I was like, so I tell them a little bit about that. And they're like, why are they doing that to you? I'm like, this is the dumbest question I have ever been asked. It's a victim blaming question, like I did something to cause it or something, and it's like I can't tell you why. That's why we need it investigated. It could be related to anything under the sun. It could be related because they're pissed at my dad and they're just going after his daughter, for all we know, right? Exactly. I can't answer that question, but I started to realize as I was going through this, the system wasn't even made to report anything like this. They didn't have anything for human trafficking victims or rape victims. Government was giving us the middle finger, being rude as shit after they have you. Oh, they kept having me repeat my incidents over and over and over again and going, man, you need to go somewhere else. The level of this, you guys, I don't think you understand. You may have talked to them as a rape victim, but when you're dealing with them with deeper government stuff like the cop stuff and the investigation stuff, these people are fucked in the head. Let me tell you. They're Christian. They're evil. They hate women. They talk down to you like you're a lesser. It was a really bad experience, but I started getting used to it because I have to talk to him all the time, but I'm not going to be degrading me on the phone. You know, it's like having FBI do that. And I figured like I could get somebody else on the phone. Then they told me I couldn't go into their office, which I found out you could, but you can talk to him at the desk. And so why did the guy block me from that? Right? So they were trying to hide Jeffrey Epstein stuff, and even from me, okay? So it was interesting because I'm in the case. I'm in the case in relation to another pedophile that's in the story. They were trying to cover for that guy. So that matters, and that's why we're talking about it. And no, it is not just a Jeffrey Epstein story, media. Sorry, I know you're trying to do that because you want to get away from the fact that you assisted Jeffrey Epstein by trashing sex workers and telling the public that we need to go after them and arrest them and they're just a bunch of slutty hoes and that they wanted it and blah, blah. So this is exactly what happened. So I'm just breaking down like what actually happened within government, inside, and their mentality and what was happening when girls that they viewed as prostitutes, not victims, prostitutes, they said that they couldn't get raped and there's nothing they can do about it. You know what I mean? This is their mindset. Again, if they're going at Hugh Hef, they believe that their girls are just a bunch of hoes and they're making stuff up and they just want money. And this actually flung out of the FBI's office too about money and how they perceive women. So when you guys went to them, they just tossed it. Now, billionaire Bacon seems to be the only real billionaire up in here besides Peter Thal. Also had this problem, which we've never met. I never talked to the guy. I just listened to the audio and I was like, that's interesting. That helps me out because I went to them before that thing. And then I don't know when he first reported Nygaard. I know in the Bahamas they were going at it. And then he kept reporting it. And then he's like, I went to Homeland. I think there's corruption in Homeland. And yes, that's very true. I never went to Homeland though. Homeland be coming over into our community. Let's just put it that way. Yeah, that on their free time, okay? So when that happened, I was like, okay, so I'm not alone in something going on. Maybe Nygaard. I was thinking Nygaard because I was like, oh, he lived by my job. And I've even posted about this elsewhere going, anybody at the job at that time? I did find a girl at the job at the time, but I don't remember her, but I don't know if they're going to even respond back to that because I put this huge thing and they're probably like, what? Yeah, so I don't know, but my memory thinks that he came in there in 2006. If that person is him, we're putting it like that. If that person is him, it would have been in 2006. But he lived about 15 minutes away from that place right there. So I was thinking, well, maybe, I found out that a couple people that I knew or was related to or some which way, shape, or form had an extension of a party that was connected to Nygaard. So I was like, I don't know what's going on up in here. There's somebody up in here maybe. And one of the girls that I used to hang out with had a party of people who were so foul, man. So I was like, well, maybe it's them. I could totally see that because they had a millionaire friend. And I talked about him. He's a pile of shit. And I was like, well, maybe it had something to do with this thing. And I just don't remember or, some crap. And I'm just going down this rabbit hole of stuff. And then I went to the school where Florence Henderson's husband was running. And I know those people are related to Nygaard. So that too, okay? So there was this closed universe of something. And I was trying to figure it out. And I was like, I don't really know right now. So then, and I've met thousands of people. So God only knows. But I would think that I remember the Wrath of Khan. I would literally, that's why I was like, yeah, this one guy though. But anyways, as they send this report to the wrong address and they gutter me, I'm outside, right, of the building. And I'm watching the activity there because I'm trying to figure out why they would send it to this address. So what happened was in the middle of the night, these cops were parked there. So I was like, yeah, that looks shady as hell. But I can't tell you. But then there's also a bunch of gangbangers that are roaming the street. But they were Armenian, I believe. Shoot. I couldn't figure this out. So I was like, yeah, well, the cop thing is totally bad. So I was like, I don't know. It could be that. And then all of a sudden I get this. Now, keep in mind, I just talked to FBI. FBI goes like this. If we want to get the audio from you, can we come and get it anytime or whatever? And I go, oh, totally, it's fine, blah, 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 blah. And then this is like a couple months later. Anyway, I end up over here. And in front of my car is this Visalia plate which is related to the case that we're talking about. And I go, oh my God, that's so creepy. The guy's alive. And I'm like, I'm having a hard time believing that this serial killer's around me right now. Don't let me think the serial killer's around me. But nobody knew he was alive. And I'm sitting here going, oh no, I think he is related to the Visalia case now. Oh my God, who would do this to me? It was so creepy. And next thing you know, oh, this was so crazy. This is so suspicious. Like, all this is so suspicious to me. This building around the corner lights up on fire. And I'm standing there and I'm like, oh, what the hell, man? There's fires everywhere. I'm going to get, I was like, what is going on, right? Anyways, I don't know whose building that is. And after this whole little event there for months, I go move to this new place. My cars get trashed and they put "fuck you" on my window. And I go, this is crazy. Nobody knows where I'm at. Nobody under the sun knows where I'm at other than my lawyers, that damn agency that I'm outing, and LAPD. Because they're following me around. That's it. Nobody else knew where I was at. And all of a sudden, my cars are getting targeted. And they're finding my cars parked different places. And they put F you, smeared all this crap all over them. Then took pens to it, keys to it. It looks all like a woman did it. And all this crap. And I go, I don't know what the hell is going on here. This is insane. Then they try to tow my cars. The same person, whoever this is. This went on for 3 months, okay? So the crazy thing was, this cop comes over alone, which is never a good thing, and tries to victim blame me and say that I should meet the neighbors because maybe they just don't like new people. I'm like, you're going to literally okay somebody doing a hate crime on me, and that I should befriend the person that did the hate crime on me. And I realized, oh, this is one of the gang members. And shit, yeah, it totally is. I did later, because I started videotaping these guys. And I go, holy shit, there's this whole Hispanic cop gang. Well, they weren't all Hispanic. Most of them were Hispanic. But there was a couple of white dudes up in here, too. But mostly Hispanic gang inside of LAPD. And I go, I was not expecting this. And not even on me. They were like on these other people. And I was like, oh my God. Thankfully, it's not on me right now. But I see it. And holy crap. And then I call the department. And then I find out they're in the investigation area. And I was like, okay. Yeah, the guys from Rampart time. And I'm like, yep, they're still there. The bad guys are still there, okay? Just understand that. The bad guys are still on the inside. I go, this is really bad. But now the bad guys are the guys that are overseeing the new guys. So now they're like the gang. They're creating the same bullshit, okay? So with new guys. So I was like, oh, God, this is literally a nonstop freaking thing. And it's just self-protection and this whole thing. But anyway, where was it going that? Oh, so I find out the building that caught on fire was owned by Peter Nygaard. I go, oh no, that's it. I go, somebody be going up in here because I just went through his case. Every building he had owned seems to light on fire. And he pays people off to light things on fire. And what was interesting on this particular building was it was owned by a shell company of his. So he put a fake, I don't know, he just did some stupid name. And one of the guys that was overseeing it lived out here in Van Nuys. And he was this little white boy. He was like 37 years old. At the time, I don't know how old he was, in his 30s. And our media started doing a blackout. And nobody even saw this. And they don't even care. I'm sitting here trying to keep up on the story. And all of a sudden it just goes, poof, nothing. And I'm like, I'm just getting started here. I'm on Bezos. I'm on freaking stem cell guy. I'm on a million people on the story, and they're all guilty as hell. And they're all getting busted for raping minors or going after minors or, some bullshit, right? So I'm like, okay, you're terrible. You're terrible. You're this, you're that. And look at all these people involved. And it was Google. It's all the same people that are coming up right now. That Sergey Brin dude or whatever. It was like that dude, all these white boys and the tech guys. And I go, I was like, this ain't going to be forever. Because there was like so many dudes. And I was like, these people are bad. And they're the ones taking me down. But I don't know why they're taking me down. Because I hadn't talked, you know what I mean? Like, there was stuff like, I was like, I don't know who those guys are. But then I started talking about him, this one guy. And all of a sudden, these launched little targets on me from those people and that and this. And I killed their freaking cult leader. And I'm like, what? Yeah, it was so crazy. And they were calling me a pro-deathist and all kinds of crap. And that I'm anti-life. I'm anti-life because the guy that they're in a cult with, basically, is trying to do this thing to have him live forever. And basically, when he got busted with a minor, this is the greatest story in the whole thing, though. He gets busted preying on a minor. And then they decide that they're going to do an investigation on him. And what he does is he tries to botch the investigation and then he gets fired, which he deserved it. Everything. He should not be near anybody. And he's the one that Nygaard gets to do his stem cell research in his company. Well, there's a deeper story with Peter Thal and the same guy. 2006. And I was like, holy crap, wait, I didn't know this part until the other night. But I don't think, because I was like, no, I don't recall ever seeing that. Now, this same guy that I'm looking at, the Jesus dude, Jeffrey Epstein ends up seeing who this person is. And he's like, oh, I want to meet him. So it happens later, though. He's like after the fact. Jeffrey on him. But this guy was first through Peter Thal. So Peter Thal gave him money. He funded that guy that's going at minors. Peter Thal and Bezos both meet him in 2006. I guess that's some TED Talk. Somebody posted this robot video. Now, if you know Nygaard's story, anybody out here, these videos are legit. Like, they put out robot videos all the time. Like, they're from Nygaard's camp and his human trafficking friends. You may gloss over it and think, oh, stupid AI. No, they're actually from Peter Nygaard's human trafficking pals. And one of them is very close with the YouTube community. That's another story. He's still free right now because these same jerks, the Christians, have let him be free. Okay, and he's preying on everybody. So he does have allegations of human trafficking. He's still wild and free right now, and it drives me up a wall. But again, this is your Christian government. They want to let it be right now. But anyway, they started doing the same stuff and then targeting the victims. And then he got busted in a courthouse for doing it. And they are legit. Those videos are legit. Somebody posted this video and it wasn't it was weird. It was all secret donor. And I'm like, what is this? So I'm going through it, and it mentioned Bezos. And I'm like, how's he connected? I couldn't figure this out. And then it finally started to make some sense at some point up in here a little bit. But I didn't realize at the time that they were taking the stem cell guy down, this is when I started getting the bullshit inside of Amazon. I did not know this. I mean, I didn't put the dates together or anything like that. It didn't even register that it would be like, oh, Bezos is mad because, or anything like that, or any connection to anything like this. So allegedly, the word is allegedly, what happened was a few months prior, before this guy lost his job, Jeffrey Bezos allegedly pulled out a tank of money and gave this guy a ton of cash. And then he gets fired. It was like the greatest thing ever, actually going back, because I had this video for a long time, and I had several people that were named in the files of Jeffrey Epstein who are, in fact, getting grilled. And I go, yeah, these are the guys that I had on my lap, like years back. But it's FBI that wanted to protect this whole house. So I can't tell you all this bullshit. Government was very close and loved these Peter Thalls, these terrible men, and hated us. That's the real truth about government's perception. And that may be shocking to some people, because as we're going at these other guys, these terrible monsters, government, on the other hand, thinks they are the greatest boys ever, and they are going to get connected and in tie with them. Obviously, Peter Thal was one of them, who is the worst pile of shit out here, that was trying to get money diverted to all men and make sure that we could not thrive as entrepreneurs. So we end up getting into a thing many years ago on my own, I guess, with myself. I don't know, but I started going at him, ooh. You know what I mean? So, and it was really random though, too, because I was like, who owns this damn thing? And he probably didn't even work there anymore. But it was like this whole thing. And then so we find out what a nut job he is and how he promotes us getting raped and just calling us liars. So no, he doesn't have a problem with adult men on kids. So that should be a flag to anyone. Anybody who's like that would okay pedophilia, and they would not stop it. Just so you know that. So that is a big flag if you ever run into anybody like that. And all they care about is money. So Peter Thal gives that guy tons of money. Now, allegedly, Bezos did or was supposed to. We put it like that. I don't know what transpired in this thing. So this robot voice is going on talking about it. And then they said, yeah, he met him in 2006. It was just basically giving some facts about it. And they were talking about their culty thing of wanting to live forever. So it's like a cult. And they wanted to do this research, which what Peter was doing, so everybody knows, and these guys were involved in a way that is unclear, but you could only imagine. Oh, and I want to point out another thing. So when Peter was here at one of the All-Star events, he brought 50 of these guys with him. And I was like, yeah, that's too many people, man. 50, I'm not going through 50 people. But I went through a dozen of them, and there was a lot more. Yeah, there was a tank. There's a tank, you guys, beyond. And what he said was he took somebody's embryo, and basically he's around a bunch of kids, and he's been trying to get their embryos. And he put his own shit in it, his own DNA in it, and he started injecting the stem cells into his body from that time. And I was like, yeah, well, who did that? Well, one of them, the lady, there was a female stem cell researcher with him, so I believe it was her, but I don't know. The son, I haven't heard the son talk in a while, It may be just one of those things where everybody's just kicking back, waiting for his ass to get over here. He's not getting younger. And the other case allegedly cannot go forward until he comes over here. He just went through a round of something. Oh, back to the fire again, because I just jumped off that. So the fire happened. It allegedly is his building. So I looked at the guy that was part of managing it that lived in Van Nuys. Huh. And the minute I find this out, I looked down at him and I was like, you know what? I was there, so let me see more on this guy. I go to look him up, I'll be damned. This dude leaves the state between the time that they ran a story, right? So they ran a story in 2021. And there's a lot of people out here that talked to FBI during this time, me too, and they literally were covering up like crazy. But anyway, so this guy in 2021 gets ran up in the Canadian media, not here in Canada. And I go, oh, that's weird. I don't know much about this. So let me go look at his background, because then it says he is from Van Nuys. I go, okay. And I read an obituary, and I'm like, the guy's only 37. So he goes to Nebraska, and goes onto the freeway and crashes into a tree. To me, it sounds like a self-you-know-what thing. It doesn't sound like an accident. It sounds weird, but that's all it says in the media. And I'm like, oh, great. We already know that Nygaard kills off people too. So I was like, I don't know what happened here. He's either got killed or he did it to himself, or I don't know. Why would he do it to himself? I'm trying to figure it out. Like, are they claiming it's an accident? It doesn't sound like an accident. If he did that to himself, you need to investigate that. Because couple things here. So I was like, if he lit the building on fire for Peter, and there's going to be, criminal stuff with that. I don't know. Like, I have questions. It's just like, this is what I pulled out. And I was like, holy crap. So then I go back in the media to see if they wrote about it. Nothing at all. And I'm like, that's pretty major. And plus he was managing it when I was over there. So I was like, okay, this is the right address, right? Like, I keep looking. I'm like, yeah, right there. That's the one. And it lit on fire. But if you look in our media and ask AI, it doesn't know about it. And I can show you it is theirs. Their company, Shell Company, also says Satakoy, because that's the street where it was on. LLC, Shell Company. And the fire made the media. It was all, they had almost 100 firemen there, and I was there around the corner. And I wasn't in front of the building, so I can't tell you that I saw any person, because I wasn't in front of the building. I was around the corner. And oh, Lordy. So now there's another billionaire there, which I don't think it's tied. I don't think they're tied at all together. It's like some public type of dude. No, I think he just picked up the building after this whole BS, and then opened his business, had his business run out of there too. So that's what we know. It was seized by the feds, I guess, or something, and then it ends up like that. So I don't know. But they don't tell us about the guy dying. Oh God, there was so much stuff in this story that I was just like, I can't take it, because I would be on that bullshit right there for like a year, because I'd be looking, okay, who's the other Shell Company guy? Because there was another guy in it, and then there was like, and they're all from out here, and then following their you know what I mean? All the sleuthy people out here should know. It would take a while just to go through that section, right? All the buildings that he owned. Why did he get them? Through what? And what was going on here? And who are all these people who are not famous that are working with him? You know what I mean? Like, it's just these sections, man. And I'm like, oh, God. Yeah, and then they threw us Jeffrey. And I was like, okay, we already went through Jeffrey. I went massively through Lawrence, his buddy, like years ago, like 15, 16 years ago. And then So I, had some idea, some bullshit over here, but no, Nygaard's story led us into all the people that Jeffrey was trying to pull into his universe later. Later. Not during, later. He's like, oh, that guy. Bring him up in here. All the bad men that I was talking about personally, Jeffrey all of a sudden went. I swear to God, because I'm the one going, oh, my perpetrator, this. Lawrence. I could literally just throw this. I could say so much bad things about Lawrence. Lawrence is the one that preys on, or at least, you know what? Here's the thing. We don't know when they first ever met. We just know this little portion. FBI is withholding information, obviously helping those people out. So, but we see what I saw. Major concerns, as you should, and I try to call FBI on it, and they wanted to protect those men. That's what I'm going to say about it. Summary of it. They allegedly were on the side of those men. It appeared. And it was offensive. It was weird. And it got dropped, right? So I'm just sitting here going, why are they covering? What is going on here? Yeah, so, but then the bio came out, and I'm watching that video on Skeptics, and I'm like, oh, they don't know me. They don't know who I called them. They don't know shit. So I'm in shock, because I'm like, wait a minute. I called them, and they had that. They had that. And I'm like blowing my lid. And at the same time, guys, check it out. The perpetrators that's covering up on the child crime is posting out in the media and gloating. I guess they questioned him. He's gloating that he didn't get taken down during that or by Time's Up. And I go, wow, that needs to be investigated. I can't believe that. I cannot believe that. I was like, see, any dude that be up in here totally talking anti that, who also has daughters, which, by the way, their daughter was in danger, that you're going to glow about you not being taken down. Not that he wasn't Me Too'd, that he wasn't taken down. And I go, wow, FBI had that. Wow, what is that? Yeah, it blew my mind. I was like, you know what? I know the answer to it because I kept saying it the whole time. It's government. Government is the puppet master. Government is the Christian pile of shit that wants to help out rich Christian men, particularly, and uphold male supremacy and promote human trafficking of women and kids. That is the honest to God truth. That is not, there's no conspiracy, there's no further thing to the story. And we could lay it out of how it happened because they were promoting to go at sex workers or women that they viewed were ungodly, such as anybody who doesn't even worship the Christian cult, because out here we have tons of other people that believe in different religions, right? So they put a target on their back. And women generally are supposed to be submissive to men and do as they say, which is also human trafficking. It's part of the whole thing about it. So I was like, yeah, that's exactly it, because I kept saying it throughout this portion. And government's getting pissed. Why would government get pissed that I am sitting there telling you these guys are rapists and human traffickers when they were? It wasn't made up. I mean, it's not any made up thing. So I'm like, yeah. And then let me talk about Lawrence and what he said. And then government's getting pissed at me. You're gonna call me a crazy person? You're gonna talk some shit to me. You're gonna try to take me down. That is government. Government's trying to make you think that it's happening from some monster in the outer world. It's not, you guys. Our government is located all over the globe. Our government knows how to mask numbers and locations. I am not stupid. When I'm looking at this stuff, I'm like, yeah, this is our government. Like, and then they started talking about that black cube thing, that other thing, and the Weinstein thing. And I was like, yeah, that may be true there too, but no, this other stuff I know for a fact is our government. And as I'm going through it and I'm talking to government, they're the ones degrading me as a woman. And that is not a person that's going to be for taking these men down. And this is every part of government. It would be absurd of me to say or even think that Jeffrey owned all of government and everybody's operating for him. You know how many people work for government? Like 20 million people. And with certain agencies, there's like 2 million. There's like huge thousands, in these different agencies. To take it there would be asinine. But what is consistent is their religious bullshit and how our government operates and how they've been operating. They just haven't got busted this whole time. They've been operating since like the fucking BC up in here. Going on with this old school Christian doctrine, like so fucking hardcore, like it's worse than some of these other Christians out here, which their silence thing up there too is also making it worse. So unless they get a lawsuit, then you see what happened, but outside that, you don't know what the hell's going on there. And yeah, no, it's totally them. It's totally the Christians. And what they promoted was to target the women and take them down. And we need to, just let women suffer because there's no way. Oh, and they didn't talk about consent, right? Because Me Too didn't happen until 2017. And I've been talking about it for 25 years. But they start talking about it there. And then the men are like, these women are going too far. I mean, what? We're ruining your rape? Like, what is going on here? So, no, they were raping women the whole time and human trafficking, and they were out and proud talking about that. And I was like, yeah, well, our government right here is a damn rapist. I mean, that's just the truth of it. So, what do you think they're going to do inside government? They're going to shred your papers. It's not even connected. Like, those people are not even connected with Jeffrey Epstein. I'm trying to explain this so you can understand that it may appear that this guy is this, like, he's controlling 20 million people, okay? And they're all doing his bidding. That's not what's happening. It's the Christians and their cult thinking that is doing the bidding for him. So he gets to operate because of them. It's like the because of them. And I was like, yeah, that is absolutely sickening. And that's how come we all got ran over. It is not just a Jeffrey story. It isn't. And every victim matters in this story. And it was all of our cases. It was so big. It kept getting bigger. As I was going, I was like, oh my God, wait. You think it's going to end and it never ends. Well, it's going to end right now. It is the Christians. It's their bullshit. They got caught up in it. And now what they're doing is manipulating the story to throw it off themselves that they did this horrible thing and served these women up cold to this monster. As they did me. They did the women of Nygaard. They did the women of Harvey. Whatever. And they're trying to make it seem like they knew nothing and that this is such a big shock to them and they can't figure out how it happened. Now, I just laid out how it happened very easily. I could show you through from the 1990s, from the time that our story started, how government was operating and when they did that survey thing and whatnot. So that's government's mindset. Okay, so all these men are operating then. And then we went to the modeling school and all those guys went and preyed on all the girls, right? Okay. And then it moves on. And in 2001, I, let everybody know these guys are pedos, the guys that got me, blah, blah. And they started getting mad. And then they started sending mad targets on me. And then this is where the online thing started. So I was like, yeah, that is, the owners of the website are of importance because they did their evil bidding. And as you see, these men own all the platforms. So, and it's a bunch of men. It's, you name it. And then they're all up in here part of the same shit show, right? And the media was trying to gaslight us to say, oh, you don't think everybody's involved. No, they're totally involved. Directly or indirectly, such as me coming forward and them bullying me and then supporting the perpetrators. So, they are involved. They are involved. And when we tell you something happened and you decide to not do anything, that's not on me, that's on you. That means you're an assistant and a participant in sex trafficking. Children. That's not on me. They don't want to take that accountability. See, if I was a part of that and I was guilty, I'm going to be out here like literally apologizing till the end of time. My ignorance, I just thought that whatever. I ain't going to sit here and play a lying game like they're doing. They're doing a major show for you guys. I'm manipulating everything on this dead guy. And I was like, he just cannot operate without everybody participating in it. And guess what? On the Nygaard story, it was so bad. And it was in the media in another country. That's all I know. So it's all in a different language, but it's not here. So I had to go translate it because it was the Jessica Alba one. Well, Jessica Alba didn't seem to think it was against the law. Not what I read. Not that she's the worst person in the room. It's just this is the problem. So here's the problem with it. When Jessica Alba seen all these children, these minors, like in very bad conduct with adults or whoever, and naked with these people, she said it was totally gross and she had to leave. More like, oh, these girls, I'm not into this minor thing and like they're a bunch of sluts or something and I just think it's gross and I'm going to leave. Okay, that's where it was at. That's the problem because she is not, in 2005, she is not viewing them as victims. And that matters the most. And neither is government. And that's the mindset right there. Government is not viewing you ladies as a victim. You could think it's gross all day, but if you don't see those girls as victims, then no one's going to do anything. And then the article tails off saying, hope they got their, like, shots because they got STDs or something. And I'm like, did they really say that about kids? Yeah, they said that about kids. Now, another problem to it is Paul Walker, who is now dead, which I was like, he's probably glad he's dead right now because he wouldn't be doing well right now. If you guys remember this actor guy or whatever named Paul Walker, him and his buddy went speeding down in Valencia and then they plowed their car and they both died in the fire. Yeah. Okay, because they wanted to speed down the street at 100 miles per hour. Okay, so they died like some years back, like maybe a decade ago. Anyway, he ends up going to Nygaard's place a bunch of times and said it's so crazy. It was like Disneyland. And I go, oh, this is not, you're lucky right now you're not here. You're lucky right now you're not here because he's admitting to partaking. But yes, so keep in mind, both these actors went to Nygaard's home and saw this conduct, which means any actor or actress that went to his home saw this conduct. It doesn't mean the people that went to the award ceremonies did or any other thing. We know the guilty parties in that, but most of them. But the people that went to his home in the Bahamas or wherever that took place definitely positively saw the conduct. But the media here was trying to protect them. Isn't that weird? That's weird. Now, one of the people that graced it was Paris Hilton. However, she would have been like, I don't know how old she was there. She would have been really young there, regardless, because she was with that damn other dude, that Carter dude. But I can tell you right now, because she normalized her bullshit at the time, it would be unlikely that she would have said a goddamn thing. And too young, even still, in her 20s. That's why I was going at Miley. I was like, Miley was like 20 at the time, and Terry Richardson was using her as a damn tool, and she ran with it, and it was so awful. I was like, I don't know how you got away with that. But her wearing a shirt that he touched her is just like, you're bullying victims. Do you get it? And why are you doing it? Well, she's being used as a tool by the perpetrator, obviously, to seem like he's innocent. And let's just make a joke of it, Miley. He's using her, though. It was pissing me off, though, so bad. But at the same time, here's something. Here's something before I go. Sinead O'Connor, who I totally supported at the time at this point, who was a strong fighter on the sexual abuses within the church, started going a little AWOL right here. And this is what helped me out, though, too, because, okay, so Miley was doing some crazy stuff. Some of the stuff didn't bother me at all. Like her dancing with so-and-so dude and whatever. I was like, okay, whatever, she do her thing. And everybody else was having a fit about it. And I was like, I don't care. She want to freaking do that on a stage with a dude. Like, who cares? Is there a problem? That didn't bother me. It was this other bullshit that bothered me. The thing with the conduct with the photographer. And then I was getting kind of annoyed, though, because I was kind of like, well, I don't know if she's choosing to do it. Because we know that everybody's forced to do shit up in here. And she was like, no, it's all me. I'm like, okay, well, whatever. It's kind of old, but all right. So she do that crap. But Sinead came up and started kind of like, what did she, I don't know, some sort of, not sex shaming, but she's kind of saying to act more appropriate because it's degrading to us or something like that. Something on the lines of that. I don't know the wording of it right now. And it threw me off. And I was like, no, because here's the thing. I go, here's where it's okay. Because I had to think about it. They got me to think. Like, I didn't even ever really confront this portion of what we're fighting. And I was like, no, here's the thing. It would be a problem if somebody made her do it. Or even coerced her into doing it. Then it's a non-consensual thing. They're exploiting her, blah, blah, blah. Is it okay that she has the freedom to want to do that on her own? Okay, fine. It's not a problem. I don't have to be for it. Definitely not. But, the freedom for her to do whatever the hell she wants, right? That's what we're fighting. Like, in the construct of that whole thing. So, yeah, Sinead actually went off kilter, I think, on that. Or at least that's how I took it. So then when I was looking at Playboy, I was like, yeah, I guess that would be the similar thing. Is like, if they're fine with doing it and it's not coerced or anything like that, then it's okay. It's their choice. We're fighting for choices, right? Women to make their own choice. Not for me to tell them what to do, you know, but the freedom to make those choices. It's not a choice being indoctrinated into a human trafficking cult religion. That's not a choice, actually. So, you know what I mean? It's hard. It's that area right there. But, no. So then that's when the other topics came up. The government was still going at women, okay? They just still are. And so this is the downfall of government going at basically sex workers, because that's what they were going at, and calling it human trafficking. And then went after them and then let them get raped and human trafficked out and ignored them. And then now we ended up with all these stories, okay? That's where it's at. It's the Christians. It's the layout of decades-long abuses from the church. And our government is Christian. Don't fight me on it, because I will prove you wrong from every one of these guys, because I talk about them all the time, and I go through their childhood and how they were indoctrinated, and then they go to church and everything else, so I can pull everyone up. FBI's leaders were Christian. And people got in trouble up in here for wearing t-shirts that said, women are property. in 92 within the military, some bullshit. Yeah, so they were wearing pro-human trafficking shirts. That's what it is. Women property, slave ownership.